Have you ever wondered what really goes on behind the walls of the houses in your neighborhood? Behind those pristine hedges and tidy porches? I used to think nothing sinister could happen in such a quiet, well-kept area. That belief died the night I discovered the truth about Mrs. Jenkins, the fragile, grey-haired woman next door. I assumed she was simply lonely, maybe grieving, maybe reclusive. But what I uncovered behind her locked door still haunts me. Tonight, I'm going to tell you a story rooted in truth. A story so disturbing, it will make you question everything you thought you knew about the people living closest to you. When I first moved into this neighborhood, I was chasing a dream, a fresh start, away from noise, chaos, and heartbreak. It had everything I wanted: silence, order, the illusion of safety. Rows of identical houses with trimmed lawns and polite smiles. I met most of the neighbors in my first week. They were warm, casual, curious. Everyone except Mrs. Jenkins. She lived next door, in the house with the faded shutters and overgrown roses. I never saw her leave, not once. No walks, no trips, no grocery bags, no visitors. Only the occasional flicker of movement through the dusty window. Her silhouette, sitting by the curtain, always still, always watching. At first, I pitied her. I thought maybe she was ill or grieving a deep loss. But then came the sounds, soft murmurs, distant sobbing, and sometimes something like pleading. Only at night. At first, I convinced myself it was the television, an old recording maybe, but something about the cadence, the pain in those muffled voices, kept tugging at the edges of my mind. My instinct screamed at me to look away, to mind my own business. But curiosity, especially when it's tangled with dread, becomes a force you can't resist. So one night, I decided to follow the unease. It was just past midnight. A chill hung in the air, and the neighborhood was drowned in silence. I crept out of my house, crossed the narrow path between our homes, and approached hers. The lights were out, curtains shut like a fortress, but the crying, that low, broken whimper, filtered through the stillness. It wasn't a recording. It was real. I circled the house slowly, checking every window, every crack in the walls for some glimpse inside. Around the back, half hidden behind a sagging bush, I spotted a basement window, small, old, slightly ajar. The paint around the frame had peeled away like a wound left untreated. I hesitated, my breath frosted in the air. Then I knelt, slid my fingers under the glass and lifted. The air inside was cold and damp. I lowered myself in, feet hitting concrete. Darkness swallowed me. My phone's flashlight cast long, trembling shadows across the floor. There, shackled to the far wall by rusted chains, was a young woman, pale, skeletal, with tangled hair and hollow eyes that flinched at the light. Her wrists were raw, her lips cracked. She didn't scream, she just stared, as if screaming was pointless now. I stumbled backward, heart thundering. She was real. This was real. Mrs. Jenkins had kept this woman imprisoned in her basement. For how long? I didn't know. But long enough to strip her of hope. Long enough to make her believe the outside world had forgotten she existed. I dialed 911 with shaking hands, whispering the details. The operator's voice was calm, clinical. Help was on the way. And then I heard footsteps creaking above me. She was awake. I ducked into the shadows, phone light off, barely breathing. The basement door opened slowly. A sliver of amber light sliced down the stairs. I saw her silhouette, small, stooped, holding something in her hand. A tray, maybe. She descended halfway, peered into the gloom, then turned back. The door shut. Silence again. When the police arrived minutes later, I led them through the window. They broke the basement door from the inside. She was arrested on the spot. But here's the thing that stuck with me. The moment our eyes met, just before they cuffed her, there was no panic in her gaze, no shame, just cold detachment. As if this wasn't a crime, as if it was simply routine. Try, if you can, to imagine being imprisoned in a basement, not for days, not for weeks, but for years. No sky, no sun, no laughter, just the drip of pipes, the weight of silence, and the knowledge that no one is coming. This young woman lived that nightmare. And what's worse, the woman who did this to her lived beside us for over a decade, smiling, baking, watering her garden. She wore normalcy like a mask, and no one saw past it. This wasn't some distant horror. It happened here, in a quiet place, in plain sight. When the police conducted their full investigation, the details that surfaced were ghastly. The girl, her name was Emily, had been abducted nearly 12 years ago. She'd been reported missing at age 17. Somehow, Mrs. Jenkins found her, lured her, or stole her from her life and brought her here. She wasn't just kept in chains. She was treated like a servant, forced to clean the house, cook meals, and endure emotional torment so severe it had reprogrammed her mind. Mrs. Jenkins told her no one cared, that the world believed she was dead, that escape meant punishment. It was psychological warfare, wrapped in manipulation and cruelty. Neighbors gave statements. No one had suspected a thing. Some admitted they'd heard the crying, but assumed it was from the TV. Others thought Mrs. Jenkins was simply senile. We all failed Emily. We all ignored the signs. It rattled the community. Panic set in. People started checking in on each other more. Locks were changed. Cameras installed. But a shadow had fallen across our peaceful street, and it wasn't leaving anytime soon. Emily survived, yes, but surviving isn't the same as healing. The years stolen from her can never be returned. As for Mrs. Jenkins, she was charged with multiple counts: kidnapping, unlawful imprisonment, aggravated assault. She showed no remorse. And me, I still live in that neighborhood, but I don't sleep easily anymore. I peer through windows now. I listen closer. Because if there's one thing this nightmare taught me, it's this. You never really know what's happening behind closed doors. Evil doesn't always wear a monster's face. Sometimes it wears an old sweater and bakes cookies on Sundays. Thank you for watching. If this story struck a nerve, explore the links in the description for more about the case. And if you've had eerie experiences with people next door, stories that just don't sit right, share them in the comments. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more unsettling tales drawn from the darker corners of real life.